why did we have to wait for Omanyala to show up when he ran in Mumias with no shoes on? It took too damn long. And until today, there is no sprint academy. It's a shame.
I think most Kenyans see the glory, and the goals on the track with all the lights, camera, action, but they don't know the struggles that these athletes are going through, even just to make it there. And then for everyone who's made it there, there's probably at least 10 or 20 who probably were as good at some point, but just were not able to get that boost. Now, Louis, this is so profound. I mean, and this is one of the reasons why we got you here, because these details that you're giving, I think most Kenyans see the glory, and the goals on the track with all the lights, camera, action, but they don't know the struggles that these athletes are going through, even just to make it there. And then for everyone who's made it there, there's probably at least 10 or 20 who probably were as good at some point, but just were not able to get that boost. Now, you mentioned spotters. And maybe, like you're going to define who spotters are, because you once talked to us about, like all these foreign agents who are all over the place in E10, just looking for talent, which means they're not doing charity. They're looking for talent that they know that they know that talent at the moment doesn't have money, but they know that they can grow. They can invest in them and grow them and profit out of them winning future races. So my question here, I know we talk a lot about the government, but I really have totally no hope on government, because if they've not been able to understand what Kenyans are saying based on these mandamanos that we've been having for the past 2 months, I'm really getting to that point where I'm saying they don't have that brain capacity to be able to do something like this. So my question here, is there a way in which maybe corporate sponsors can be taught, whereby we can have an entity where corporate sponsors can come in? Because the idea is invest, like in a young athlete, like before, who's shown potential. You invest in them for them to be able to do these diamond leagues, like you're talking about what Bahrain is doing for Yavi. Invest in them, and then in future, like there's business sense. Like once they start winning, you will, you will get a cut of the profits that will come out of this winning. Is there anyone who's talking about this, or is there any plan to have something of this sort? Because to me, Yavi especially is an example of mismanaged talent, meaning that you're young, you did not make it to the competition. So rather than put you in some kind of incubator to build you up to be able to make into the next competition, you're kind of abandoned. Go by yourself until when the next trials come in. So we don't care what you're doing. We don't care whether you have a coach. We don't care whether you have training. But then they just expect you to come back and to perform. So Louis, maybe talk to us. Is there, like any ideas or anything of trying to create entities outside government that will circle any of these young talented people, whether they've qualified or not for international competition? Louis?
So unfortunately not. Having sat in a webinar discussion with Catherine Dereba, the great.
Wow.
I believe she owns it's the High Altitude Training Center facility in E10.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to pop into that session and just to listen to what people are talking about. It was quite an interesting talk of just a few friends who are having a chat. And you'll find that the government really does not invest in nurturing any of this talent. They will only pick up this talent from high school competitions. and probably maybe primary school competitions, of which they'll just ignore, and they will not try to nurture them, put them into academies where they can be able to grow. So it is individual athletes who have already participated before, or maybe they're already in the game, like what Omanyala is doing right now with the Sprint Academy that he started last year. He's picking up, the speedsters from various schools and hoping that maybe he can nurture them to become someone in future. Something which the government should have done this from the days of Kennedy Ondieki, long time ago in the 90s,
Yes.
when Kennedy Ondieki was a shining star in 1996.
Yes, that's right.
Why did we have to wait for Omanyala to show up when he ran in Mumias with no shoes on? It took too damn long. And until today, there is no Sprint Academy. It's a shame. It is a shame.
Wow.
When you look at Nala Academy in Nanyuki, everybody was saying that it's E10, it is E10, it is E10 somewhere in Wasangishu. That's the only place where you can run. No, Mary Ekiru came from Nanyuki. And she ran against this same Tsegai lady in Accra, Ghana, during the Africa Championships. And she actually came number 2 after our friend, our sister Tsegai did the same thing that she did to Faith the other day. And Mary Akiru is a very young girl. She is barely, 21, 20? And she just came from Nala Academy in Nanyuki. Mary Ngugi has literally nurtured about 28 young girls in Nanyuki, a high altitude area, and she's doing it by herself. Already, she has 3 girls that have given up very high accolades in the international stage, and she's funding it by herself. Where is the government?
My
Now,
goodness.
when you look at Catherine Dereba, she's doing it by herself with all her savings. Okay, and there's another private training facility also that is in Itan. I think it's near where my friend, the late rider, the road bike rider, used to also train with them, but he used to ride the bikes around there, the whole yard and stuff. It's owned by one of the last, I think it is not Terragat, but I think it was one of the guys who ran in the Mexico Olympics, if I'm not wrong. These are all private facilities.
Kipkeino.
I think maybe Kipkeino, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong, a name closer to that. So you find that most of these facilities that we have that are churning out these young people, they're all private, and some of them have to pay to be there. Others are allowed to go in there for free. Okay, the government does not chime in. In Kaptagat, where we have Kamoror, where we have Kipruto, where we have Kipchoge, where we have Our Lady Faith, they train in Kaptagat. The government does not really step in to do anything. Those guys, they take care and sort for themselves out. You find themselves cooking ugali and doing all the stuff that they want to by themselves. The government does not even care to make life easier for them. Now, you're talking about sponsorship. For sponsorship purposes, all these corporates, it's business. Business is all about making profits. They will not come and try to nurture you up in order for them to make profits. I mean, we already know that. They don't have time for that. The moment they see you shining out there is that they'll begin knocking at your door and saying, hey, can we use you as our brand ambassador? But if you do not showcase the talent, and a winning talent, not just a talent, but a winning talent, corporates don't really care about you. And for the most part, the deals that the corporates do give the Kenyan athletes, they're so substandard. Majority of them are not even taken care of like they should be taken care of. I'm surprised that even when one of their athletes, I think I have had to deal with 2 athletes that have come to the United States, and one of them was stranded at a hotel lobby because nobody was there to tell her what she needed to do. She was stuck. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak to anybody. Her English is not, up to par. Her phone was not fully charged. She was struggling to even explain that she needed a charger that can be able to get onto the socket. There's no one to assist you. So the person whom she was calling was her corporate sponsor in Kenya. But those people were not willing to help her as such. They were not organizing for her to ensure that she can come and participate, which was one of the races that she needed to make a good time in order for her to make it over to the Olympic trials. So we have so many problems here that really they just don't add up. The corporates come in to help these fellas only when they're shining, put their name on it, and then force them to go to social media so that they can go ahead and spread their name up there and say, oh, we are with Soch of Korea, and you can phone whatever it is that they're advertising. I don't want to get into details, but I know this firsthand because I see it every day. They do not help them with the publicists that can work with them. They do not give them a stipend on time. They tell them we'll give you a stipend for you being our brand ambassador, but it would even come maybe 6 or even 8 months later. Some of these fellows don't even have money to go to Uganda. Cheptegei had an event in Uganda at he has a facility that he opened up in Uganda, I think 2 years ago, and he has really pulled in quite a lot of athletes. Is it Nabonyo and I think Kalwal, Chemtai, all those athletes who come from the eastern region of Uganda and western region of Kenya, coming over towards the Mount Elgon area, going up north. They all train at Cheptegei's facility. Kenyans could not be able to afford just to go to that facility for a championship training exercise that they had. Why? Because that is the only money that Athletics Kenya did not even care about it.
Wow.
And now this particular training facility that Cheptegei opened, it's funded by the Ugandan government. And the Ugandan government told those guys, if you go outside of this country and you win, you come back home, we are going to receive you very well with a lot of accolades, prizes, nice presentations, and will give you a very good life. Tell me, how many houses do you think Nanyonyo owns right now? I think she has like 3. For
Wow.
all the medals she has brought in from outside the country, plus vehicles. So what will stop anyone from Kenya from going outside the country where they can be appreciated?